It was an old brown paper bag that I first took into a old burnt out basement in the Northbridge Hotel, which had a concept of a festival. And I pulled this brown paper bag out and I showed a few of the mob, and they had a look at the design, and they looked at me and they said, "You'll never ever do this, Robert. This not only would be far too difficult, but do you think this city's going to allow all these Aboriginal flags to be put up down on the esplanade in the shadow of the city front?" And I said, "Well, whether they do or not, I'm going to do it." 2 years later, the dream from the brown paper bag became the most massive cultural celebration in the living memory of Noongar people today.
We're going to chase all these clouds away with this next dance here. This is Biriana, fine weather dance.
Kyana was a corroboree. It drew our people together in a circle. You had the fire burning. You had the spirit existing. You had Noongar people, Aboriginal people throughout Australia, and they felt that spirit. They participated, they dwelled in it, they lived in it. We were drinking from a very special pool of what was Aboriginal. It revived us. It allows us to stand up strongly and fight, much more strongly than we had. We were less subservient. We become more of a warrior type community. We were led to resist. The honesty that exists in the Aboriginal community is more about the connections to one another. It's not about competition, it's not about money, it's not about any of those things. Really, it's about how do we communicate and connect up as human beings. I don't think anyone's got a better plan for that than Indigenous people.
Kyana itself as a cultural gathering is what is probably still in living memory for Noongar people the most important cultural gathering ever held in our country. We had central tributes, themes to the gatherings. In 1991, our central theme was to all Aboriginal people who had died in custodial institutions. It was a burning flame in a rock formation placed centrally within the festival concept. That was a very important theme because in 1991, that was the year that the federal government also announced the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody.
The Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody has produced a final report highly critical of widespread and entrenched racism and the failure of the legal system to protect Aborigines.
So the central themes and the politics of the gatherings were as important as was the cultural significance and the entertainment.
It's a time and place where people can congregate, mix amongst one another, really enjoy themselves, and time to come, feed your conscience like this. I reckon it's a great thing, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a nice weekend, and here's a little song that I wrote. It's called Calicabati Circus Bus. Come on, everybody. You gotta get aboard. Calicabati's moving out, man. It's pigeon day today. Oh, well, it's half past 8 and she's just about ready to roll. Everybody gets aboard and man, they don't have to be told. Here's the ignition and she kicks off without a fuss. They all ran up on that Calicabati circus bus.
My name's Lila West and I'm from Warburton. That's in Central Australia. Trying to sell artifacts, what we've been doing back home, and some paints, dot paintings.
The Working Party wanted to have a symbol created that would represent our culture in a very strong and identifiable way as being Bibbulmun people. So we engaged an artist by the name of Susan Cooper Wyatt, and she designed this incredible and powerful image of a woggle, the giant Dreamtime serpent that we believe as Aboriginal people, as Bibbulmun people, created our landscapes and created the diversity of our landscapes. And that symbol, in terms of what it represented, is still very much part of our culture and our identity as Noongar people some 30 years later. The central theme was a respected tribute to Yerrigan. Yerrigan was a respected Noongar warrior of the Canning River area who resisted the forced occupation of our land. This resistance led to his barbaric death. Yerrigan will be long remembered as the heroic warrior who stood strong against the force of colonisation. The tribute reflected a range of cultural displays, including various ochre. Brushes of human hair, sticks, twigs and fingers are used to apply the paint. Aboriginal people treated physical and spiritual sickness by extracting various saps and liquids from a range of plant growth. Great authority and respect was given to those who possessed the knowledge of treating sicknesses. Food is closely interwoven with the rich spiritual life of Aboriginal people. It is our belief that people, the land and animals are part of a vast system created by our ancestral spirits of the dreaming.
As part of the cultural exchange, the Ainu people perform traditional dances.
Kids Corner is an important aspect of Kyana, which encourages and involves our children to experience the learning of cultural identity through the awakening of the spirit. The teaching of our children is embedded in the Kyana philosophies, which are reflected by art, design and image. So the Working Party engaged a young female Aboriginal artist, Anne Lambaji, and Anne designed this symbol in regards to keeping alcohol out of our business, out of our cultural circle.
Don't Allow Alcohol to Break the Circle was translated into 5 different language groups, which were Bardi, Pidginjara, Wongai, Noongar and Yamatji. The symbols that were on the design represented a family, I guess. The straight lines represented the men, the arches represented the women, and the dots were the circles. In the middle was a campfire, represented with the star shape.
The red-rumped parrot and the pigeon flew up behind the moon and stole fire from the moon's tail.
The moon looked around and saw the parrot and pigeon flying away with fire. He called out, "Give fire! Give fire!" He kept calling out, but they flew away. The moon was very angry and called upon the sea, uncle of the moon, to put the fire out. And the great sea came over the ground to put the fire out.
The parrot ran to the bulka tree and took the fire from his tail. He put it in the flower stem, high up in the bulka tree, and showed the swans how to make fire from the stems.
They were glad that they had fire in the bulka stem.
The idea of Kyana is positive of bringing two cultures together, white and black, and showing that the wider community, that Aboriginal people are positive in their attitudes and what they're doing.
We're sharing our culture, and this is one way of doing it by putting on something like this.
We think it's brilliant.
The festival's great. Solo's all right.
One of the other things is to retain the culture, and one of the best ways to retain it is to go out and showing people.
It's good to be up here in Perth with our people, and I'm enjoying it here.
It just brings the Aboriginal community together, which, you know, proves that they're pretty close-knit, and just opens the eyes of the white community a little bit.
And it's portraying Aboriginal people in a positive light. That's something that the newspapers don't do too often, something that the media doesn't do too often.
Natives are restless in their state houses and homes. Unmarried mothers no longer alone. Relations are arriving from near and afar. Social Security pensioner, today you're a star. Anxious glances are cast up the street. Postie has a timetable he never ever keeps. Dad swears one day he'll wring his white neck, but Mum says don't worry, he'll lob in a sec. Young Yorgers dream of new jeans and shoes. Young men scheme to catch money for booze. Petrol for the car's more than $2 worth, and it's off to the tab to invest in the turf. Even dogs and kids are running amok. They know Boyer will fly when the oldies are drunk. Cokes and lollies and everything nice, wishing wouldn't it be Murich if pension days fell twice. Postie has been, checks have been changed, food and drink has been all arranged. Dad cracks a bottle, passes it around, says let's have a charge, then piss off to town. Town she jumps on pension day nights, girls looking for boys, boys looking for fights. Tomorrow they'll be hungover, some sore, most quiet, but who gives a fuck tonight, Noongar's right.
This next song here was written by a friend of ours, Cyril Garlick, ex-drummer for Island. And it's called Aboriginal to be Free. Struggles and links which we do not agree. Language is different and our kids ain't free. No matter which way we look around. To be free.
We have loved a sweet, sweet child. We have loved the way he smiled, the way that it lit up his gentle face. Such a child of grace. took him back to Alice Springs, where we heard somebody sing, but no one there would tell us where he came from, or his mother's home.
Your spirit never dies, because you open up our eyes. Louis, take your
Scarborough seemed pretty fair. You'd always see him standing there, eating pizza nice and hot outside Happy Granny's shop. No one keeping score, but it's not happy at Granny's anymore. Not like it was before.
Well, one of the real proud cultural moments at Kyana was when our people saw up on top of the tallest building that was being built in Perth this incredible Aboriginal flag, a massive flag that flew high above and shadowed the city.
Prior to us having the flag taken to site, we looked at the building. It wasn't feasible because Multiplex would have taken it down, as you can imagine, because they didn't have they had a policy, that no adverts to take place on their sites. So we looked at the crane, and it was of course in a very prominent position. It was one of the highest points in the city, and we looked at we could hire fly it on the wires at the top of the A-frame because it was too big to fly during the day. So that's what we did the first night. We put it up, and of course it was illuminated, and when the hours of darkness came, we'll always recall the next morning when I believe John Roberts was watching the evening news, and he's seen the flag flying above his building, which didn't go down too well the following day. I was asked to pull it down, but I think we held our ground and we didn't pull it down. And it was probably quite strange for them to say pull it down. Well, pull what down? There was no flag in the morning. The flag was gone. I think it was the third day. Brian was in the union office on site. Multiplex management had enough by this time and really demanded it be not flown on the third night. And then Brian of course said, well look, I've got a relationship with the Aboriginal community, I support them, and that flag's not coming down, it'll go up again tonight. If you want a working crane tomorrow morning, we better leave it up tonight. And that's what we achieved for the length of the festival.
During the second Kyana gathering in Perth, there was an incredible controversy that erupted regarding our policies and our law. And Kyana had a protocol of law in order to maintain the dignity and the integrity of our culture.
There won't be a white face among the many Aboriginal bands performing at the Kyana Festival. Organisers have banned non-Aboriginal performers. It's a policy that has upset Donna Aitken, whose internationally successful four-piece band includes a non-Aboriginal. Organisers asked her to change the band's lineup for the event. She refused, believing it was racist.
I don't think there'd be anybody game enough to do
what has been done with the Kyana policy, except for now, and it happens to be roles reversed.
Bass guitarist Ken Dodson is bewildered by the policy.
There is no racial barriers between musicians, or there never has been, not that I've seen.
Donna says her band promotes racial harmony and Kyana should do the same.
As we learn to live together, to share the riches of our land.
But organiser Robert Eckington says Aboriginal culture is at stake.
Kyana is not a multicultural festival. Kyana is an Aboriginal corroboree. We will stand until we can't stand any longer in fighting that challenge upon the integrity of Kyana.
The Equal Opportunities Commission is investigating the row. State and federal government funding may be withdrawn if the clause banning non-Aboriginal performers remains for the next festival.
That created an incredible controversial output regarding media and people like Howard Sattler, who was a noted shock jock regarding racism in our city. And before we could even open the second Kyana festival, he was already interviewing this particular band on radio and creating a tension, a racial slur and a indignified process and descriptive of our gathering.
So anybody who attends Kyana will certainly see a very broad aspect of racial harmony here on the ground between people.
But you won't see it on stage?
A lot of non-Aboriginal people come into Kyana over the 2 days, as they did in 1991.
Well, that's good, Robert, but they won't see any white people and black people together in harmony on stage. That's correct, isn't it?
And the integrity of cultural development is no excuse. I'm not making any excuse. Those policies and those laws stand.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck, because I reckon you're going to need it.
And I liken the Aboriginalisation policy to, if you were to buy a ticket, if you like, to see the, Italian opera and or the Russian ballet, you would expect to be seeing Italian people singing the opera and Russian people doing the ballet. So what had happened as a result of the controversy and what had been decisions that were made was that Dumbartung's agency status at a state level was dissolved and our funding was withdrawn. And we didn't receive funding again until 2 years later from the federal government under ATSIC. And ATSIC picked up Dumbartung and funded it for the next 30 years as it changed its bureaucracies in terms of government-initiated funding committees.
People from the bush, living at the outback, the plains dance the best for those who belong.
I think the controversy that followed the Kyana gatherings was an indication of the fear and an indication of the need of the government and its bureaucracies to oppress and keep our culture suppressed to their policies and to what they want from our culture, not what, as Aboriginal people, we need from our culture in reference to our identity and who we are as people. Keeping that symbol was very important. Keeping it alive meant keeping our culture alive. From that gathering of Kyana, was the very first, when I looked out over in closing Kyana in 1991, I saw the flickering flames of the Central Tribute, which was a respected tribute to all Aboriginal people who had died in custodial institutions, and through my mind came the words which are still as profound today as that symbol, and those words are, "May our campfires burn forever."
This is the second day of Kyana and we're drawing close to the finish of Kyana. The Western Australian newspaper today said that it was the biggest Aboriginal cultural festival ever held in this country. And the Western Australian also said that the Aboriginal people done it with pride and determination and courage. The theme of this whole festival is freedom through spirituality, and that may mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. but whatever it means, we've certainly achieved it in these last 2 days. Every aspect of our culture was exposed through the arts and the performing arts. Kyana was run by a multitude of people. We made up a working party, again that came from each Aboriginal organisation in Perth. And to you, the Aboriginal community of Perth, who have got behind this project totally, we have got all aspects of our community represented here. It is your festival, a festival that was put together for you.
It took 8 months and we all had our fingers crossed, will it work? 2 days and it worked. And it was you people out there that gave us the support and trusted us for this festival. And now, on behalf of the Working Party and the Noongar people, Aboriginal people of Western Australia, we'd like to present Robert with this.
The Kyana grounds were sacred. They were ceremonial grounds, they were trade routes for our old Whadjuk people, they were the hunting grounds of Yerrigan and Yallagonga and Midjigaroo. And to see that ground now be sunk to become a playground for affluent, white Australians in Western Australia called Elizabeth Keys, breaks our spirit and shatters our identity and heritage as Noongar people.
Go back, Noongar people, to the values of before. Gain strength from your culture, the spiritual dreaming war. Seek shelter from the vulture of colonial oppressors' law, for the presence of Yerrigan spirit, as Noongars unite once more.
We listen to the stories as the elders again explain how your culture flourished before the Europeans came. Find why it's important, your strength must never wane. Noongars need the spiritual, like dry land needs rain. See contemporary, traditional come together on stage. Guitars weeping, drummers thumping in anguish rage. Hurt, fear, frustration, escape the poet's cage while haunting digits echo deep from a forgotten age. Observe the women dancing, weaving to sing a song. History's mysteries from whence your soul belongs. Forget urban landscapes, go back to where you were strong. Search for hidden answers from which your spirit belongs. Hear rhythmic black performance cause vast crowds to sway. Soulful mesmic lyrics put broken hearts on display, but words of hope and freedom offered a brand new day. As daylight kisses darkness, children laugh, dance and play. Kyana, a means to survive. Kyana, for which Noongar strive. Kyana, a culture on display. Kyana, celebrating indigenous way. Kyana, a means to survive. Kyana, for which Noongar strive. Kyana, a culture on display. Kyana, celebrating indigenous way. Yo, we've been through the worst, still we soldier on. Still the culture's strong, peace to my brothers, still holding on, hold it on. Stay staunch when you're told you're wrong. Pretty mad if you roll along. We need more love for all of the brothers up in the forefront, showing us how we should ball up. It's all love if you want more, cause you see the peeps. We speak in peace, but we need release, believe in me. I've seen the streets, but I know there's a better way for my brothers now. Keeping family bond strong and my cousins round, cause I'm proud that you a family man. You done a lot more than your family can, and that's the kind of stuff that will warm my heart. Noongar showing strength for unity when we're torn apart. All we need to really do is from a start. Knowledge is where I fall apart. I saw the spark. Kyana, a means to survive. Kyana, for which Noongar strive. Kyana, a culture on display. Kyana, celebrating indigenous way. A means to survive, for which Noongar strive. Our culture on display, celebrating indigenous way.
The Noongs down south, straight holding it down, making the man proud when he kick it with crowd. To the Yamajis up north, yeah, my brothers of course, keeping the culture strong and collect from the source. To the one guys out mid, straight living up off the grid. I ain't been there in a minute, but I'll visit with kids. And to the Corroborees out east, my brothers, you straight beast. It's time for us to speak, so come and sing it with me. Hey,
Kyana, a means to survive.
Kyana,
for which Noongar strive.
Kyana,
our culture on display.
Kyana,
celebrating indigenous way.
Kyana,
a means to survive.
Kyana,
for which Noongar strive.
Kyana,
our culture on display.
Kyana,
celebrating indigenous way. May our campfires burn forever.
The hope of Dumbartung is that we can continue our journey, story and struggle into the next generation. We need our young people to be strong and their sense of belonging strengthened by cultural customary practice that is represented by the ways of our old people. Our people must have the human right to tell our story our way, to stay true to the pursuit of one truth, one enlightenment of this country's history, and it must be told through the eyes of the vanquished, not the deceit of the victor, as this will maintain the corruption of prejudice, lies and deceit. Our living cultures are the oldest ceremonies practiced on the most ancient landmass on the earth. We need to protect our spirit against forced influences that will render it void of integrity and dignity. As a great spiritual mal, the eye of the yoga, the eagle casts an endless shadow of movement over the sacred Buja, our land, void of emotional reason, pain and suffering as it glides over our country, witnessing what was done before and what came as the darkness and the sickness destroyed the lives of our people. A visionary, forever into the future, pierced by the bloodshed of our great warriors, the wisdom of our elders and the strength of our future generations. May our campfires burn forever.